Well, it's got an important place in the classroom, as does any piece of contemporary and relevant occurrence. So, you know, I just think it's very prescriptive for a government which clearly has a very political right-wing agenda to start dictating what people should hear. Every single aspect of politics or history is controversial. If you had this directive, you would have nothing taught in schools of historical significance. The Wars of the Roses and who won or lost or who did what were controversial. And so is the colonial empires. So I think this type of prescription from government, who clearly don't understand or know their history, really is unhelpful. It does not polarize communities. And I can remember a brilliant history teacher who talked about the Cold War and covered all aspects of it. And that was how I got my love of politics and my love of history. And so I just think that is a nonsensical directive. It's not done for any good purpose. If you want political indoctrination, then yes, you can find it in China, you can find it in Russia, and you can find it in certain primary schools all over the world. But I think, generally speaking, British primary and secondary schools do a very good job in giving people a holistic view of the curriculum, such as it is, and have an open debate between people who can agree and disagree.
Rakib, Ehsan, it doesn't polarise. What say you?
I couldn't disagree more. I think that the intervention by the Department for Education is an important one. I do feel that while it is difficult to teach sensitive historical events and contemporary issues, ultimately that is what our teachers in this country are paid to do. They're not paid to be political activists. And I do take issue with BLM-inspired materials being used in British classrooms. The reality of the matter is, when it comes to the BLM social movement, there are surveys now which show that a notable chunk of the British population believe that the social movement is divisive. There was a poll by Opinion which showed that 55% of Brits felt that BLM had increased racial tensions. That included a plurality of ethnic minority respondents. And I've personally done research which has shown that among Black British respondents, 1 in 2 believe that political activists have a disproportionately high level of influence in British schools. So I think there's very clearly an issue when it comes to the politicization of lessons. And I think that when we're looking at BLM in particular, and things such as white privilege theories, which are being presented as fact, that's something that can actually undermine social cohesion in younger sections of the British population. And we just cannot afford that.
Peter, Herbert, just back to your point that, there's no difference between, for instance, choosing to teach something tendentious about the War of the Roses or the English Civil War compared to, say, Black Lives Matter. I mean, there's a huge difference, isn't there, which is that some of the dynamics that surround the Black Lives Matter movement are very present today and are part of the warp and weft of political decision-making. They're here, they're now, they're not 350 years ago.
Well, let me give you a better example then. This is more recent. I think, people who are not from the African Caribbean community don't really have much knowledge or ability to speak about the issues that affect our communities. They really don't. They're doing so as third parties.
Are you saying they haven't got a right to speak about it?
Therefore, yeah, they can have a right, but I'm saying they don't have that fundamental knowledge of experience, which we have. If not, then, we might as well as actually African Caribbean people just step to one side and let white people talk for us or anybody else talk for us. So it's important that we're heard.